Hi guys, over the next few days we're going to see a lot of pontificating and grandstanding, and it's likely to explode at PMQs. The Conservatives and Reform UK believe they have the government in a tight spot over Baroness Casey's review of the grooming gangs. But it must be remembered that the Tories attacking anything here is from a position of pure hypocrisy, as they had refused to implement findings of a similar inquiry, while Reform UK is doing so to pander to their base. A no-nonsense response is needed, and perhaps that's exactly what ex-Tory turned Reform UK MP Lee Anderson got when he tried to make hay of the situation. Have a listen to this.
It is amazing, it is staggering that the Labour MPs can come here today and welcome an inquiry when they was given the chance. They all voted against one. But these girls, these victims of the Pakistani grooming gangs, they were kidnapped, they were abused, they were drugged, they were raped. And when they reached out for help, everybody ignored them. So there's little wonder they have no faith in the system. But they can regain faith if the Home Secretary agrees with me and appoints Maggie Oliver as chair of the inquiry.
Well, I would say to the honourable member, the child sexual exploitation and abuse, some of the most vile crimes that our country faces. And what Baroness Casey's report sets out in some detail, set out over 17 pages, just report after report after review after report after review, and so many of those recommendations never implemented. So concerns that were raised at the time of the Rotherham inquiry about issues around ethnicity, about issues around lack of information sharing, about lack of protection for children, simply not acted on. And Baroness Casey herself says, if we'd got this right years ago, seeing these girls as children raped rather than wayward teenagers, then I doubt we would be in this place now. He was a member of the previous government that did fail to do this, and I would hope that he would agree that actually successive governments, successive agencies across the country have failed to act on this, and we need to make sure that there is a proper independent inquiry, as well as, most crucially of all, the action by police to take the operations that will bring perpetrators to justice and put them behind bars.
Okay, what was Lee Anderson's role when he was still a Conservative? Well, towards the end, he was the deputy chairman of the party. Now, unless that's a joke role, why didn't he try and use his influence over the government to implement the findings of the J report, the J investigation, the J inquiry? Why didn't he do that? He can't stand up in the House of Commons now and say, you should be doing this or you should be doing that, when his party, now he wasn't a member of the government, but he was the deputy chairman of the party, so obviously he had some sort of influence. Why didn't he use that influence to pressure the government? Why didn't he stand up as a member of Parliament during that time and say, the government need to be doing X, Y, and Z? I don't remember him doing that. If there's a clip, maybe he can present it himself to vindicate himself. But he was the deputy chairman. It's not like he was a backbench MP, he was the deputy chairman. Now, this is what we're going to see going forward. Reform UK are in a stronger position because they were not in government. They were not able to implement the findings of the previous inquiry. But the Conservatives need to sit down and shut the F up, because they were given findings from an inquiry. They were told, these are the things you will need to implement, and they refused to do so. Kemi Badenoch is going to stand up and rant and rave, but she's in no position either. She was a member of the previous administration. So why didn't she use her power as a cabinet minister to pressure the government? No. None of them did, because they simply didn't care. They now pretend to care because there's an opportunity politically. This is the reality of the situation. It's not me being overly cynical. Politicians, when they're in opposition, will try and bring down the government. If they see a few cracks, they will attempt to use that against the government. Reform UK are doing it, obviously, because they're in opposition as well, and they truly hope they believe that they will be the next government. But the Conservatives at this stage need to be very quiet about any criticism they have of the current government, because when they were in charge, They were in charge for 14 years. And it's not just that this thing blew up in the last few years. They knew about these things going on, but decided to do nothing. Because they didn't care. Because it didn't benefit them in some way politically. Lee Anderson was a member of that government, or that political party, I should say. So he should be quiet as well. But of course, he's going to try and use this from another point of view, of course, being a member of Reform. And as I said, Reform are in a stronger position because they will say, well, we had nothing to do with any of this. We're on the side of the victims. When in reality, of course, they are trying to use this as a political football as well. It needs to be pushed back responsibly and robustly. But it's important that the victims are front and center here. That politicians on both sides don't use this as a football. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.